Hello, students. Have you ever wondered how traits like flower color, seed shape, or eye color are passed down from one generation to the next? It's almost like a recipe where the ingredients are inherited in a specific order. In today's lesson, we'll focus on how a single gene is responsible for a particular trait and how it's inherited. This concept, known as monohybrid inheritance, plays a key role in understanding the genetics of all living organisms, from pea plants to humans. Mendel's experiments were groundbreaking. He conducted a monohybrid cross where he crossed plants that differed in one trait, for example, tall versus dwarf plants. The key here is that Mendel studied the inheritance of a single gene, which controlled one trait at a time. His experiments gave us a clearer picture of how a dominant allele and a recessive allele influence the appearance of an organism. For example, if a plant has one tall allele, T, and one dwarf allele, T, the dominant tall allele will express itself in the offspring. Let's explore the terms dominant and recessive alleles. In Mendel's experiments, he discovered that some traits, like tallness, were dominant, while others, like dwarfness, were recessive. This means that in a heterozygous individual, one dominant and one recessive allele, the dominant allele will always be expressed. The recessive trait only shows up if both alleles are recessive. Think about eye color. If one parent has brown eyes, dominant, and the other has blue eyes, recessive, their children are likely to have brown eyes because the brown eye allele is dominant. Now, let's talk about homozygous and heterozygous states. A homozygous individual has two identical alleles for a trait, either two dominant alleles, TT, or two recessive alleles, TT. A heterozygous individual, on the other hand, has two different alleles, one dominant and one recessive, TT. When Mendel crossed two heterozygous pea plants, TT/TT, he observed a 3:1 phenotypic ratio, meaning 3 tall plants for every 1 dwarf plant. This was because the dominant allele masked the expression of the recessive allele. Let's dive a bit deeper into Mendel's ratios. From his crosses, Mendel noticed that the genotypic ratio, the genetic makeup of the offspring, and the phenotypic ratio, the physical expression of the traits, followed specific patterns. In a cross between two heterozygous plants, the genotypic ratio was 1:1, which means 1 TT, homozygous dominant, 2 TT, heterozygous, and 1 TT, homozygous recessive. The phenotypic ratio was 3:1, 3 tall plants and 1 dwarf plant. These ratios were important because they showed how genes are inherited in a predictable way. Mendel's laws of inheritance are not just theoretical, they're used in real life every day. We use his law of segregation and law of dominance in fields like plant breeding, where scientists select plants with desirable traits for better yield or disease resistance. These principles are also crucial in genetic counseling, where doctors predict the chances of inheriting genetic disorders like sickle cell anemia. Mendel's work opened up a new world in genetics, showing how even the simplest traits can have powerful and predictable inheritance patterns. So, to recap, in this video, we learned how one gene can control a specific trait, as Mendel showed with his monohybrid crosses. We explored the difference between dominant and recessive alleles and how these alleles segregate during gamete formation. We also saw how Mendel's work laid the foundation for understanding genetic inheritance. Mendel's discoveries are not only the backbone of modern genetics but also help us understand the very nature of inheritance, from simple traits like eye color to complex diseases. I hope you now see the magic of how a single gene can influence life's diversity. Thanks for watching, and keep exploring the wonders of biology.